This is Identity at the Center.
Welcome to the Identity at the Center podcast. I'm Jeff and that's Jim. Hey, Jim.
Hey, Jeff. How are you?
Not so bad. Yourself?
I'm doing great, man. Let's talk about what we're doing right at the moment. So we're at Identiverse 2026. Mm-hmm. It's Wednesday evening, and we are doing a live podcast with Bravura Security as our host, and we have a large studio audience in front of us.
Something we've never done.
Never done this.
Yeah. So, only minimal prompting for that. That was fantastic.
I know. The applause sign up there was kind of a cue.
Yeah. We needed. That's actually something we do. So we were talking about putting this together with our friends at Bravura and Bart and others, and it was like, hey, the idea is kind of maybe do like a late night talk show / comedy show. I don't know how funny Identity is, probably not very, but that was the only analogy I could draw with like cocktail tables and kind of people kind of around and things like that. So that's kind of where we're at, but let's go ahead and introduce our guest, Bart from Bravura. Do you want to give kind of a quick intro?
Yeah, I can give you an intro. So today I'm the general manager of Bravura Security, but I've been in the industry for 12 years now. I started out as somebody in our PS team helping customers find solutions to all of their identity problems, and found myself here. So it's been a journey, but it's an ever-evolving space that only seems to be moving more rapidly. So
you didn't find all the solutions? There's still more solutions to be found? Okay. All right.
Well, I know, Jeff, you and I have the perspective if like you do PS, that's where the real dirt is, right?
PS. You got to explain what PS is.
Professional services.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. The other guests on our show is everyone out there. So they might not appear on camera, but we've got a room full of really smart, talented, fun people with extremely good taste in podcasts. So we have a lot of questions from folks. So we're really just going to kind of go down the list and start asking them. If there's prompts from the crowd, if there's anybody that wants to jump in or has something, just raise your hand. Jim will be our person going into the audience, and we'll have a mic. So if you don't want to do that, that's fine. We'll kind of paraphrase the questions, things like that, and try to get through that. But my goal is to answer as many of these as possible. I don't know if we'll get through all of them.
there's a lot.
There is a lot. And so we'll try to keep things moving a little bit. But if you don't get a question answered, see me after class. We'll talk and we'll figure it out, whether it's now or tomorrow or, call my cell phone. We'll just kind of talk through it. So let's go from the very beginning. No surprise, AI is at the top of the list. I don't think there's any particular order other than just kind of grouped. So this first topic we're going to get through is around consolidation and AI. And this one comes from Greg. Why are IAM teams stretched so thin securing AI identities, and why shouldn't we panic? Bart, I'm going to start with you, but I think you should absolutely panic, by the way. Go ahead.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Okay, so 2 votes for panic. Yeah, I'm usually with a negative one, so you're like,
no, I mean, look, I'm going to start with like an empathetic approach, because teams are worried that they're not going to be needed, that AI is going to take their jobs. On the flip side, I think it's only making what we do more important. And so I think we should start there.
Okay. Bart, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think there's 2 sides to it, right? So I think the side that most practitioners are seeing right now is, oh my God, there's 50 to 1 or 144 to 1. I heard various different numbers throughout the week.
Whatever number you just said is already out of date.
Yeah, exactly. It evolved overnight. But there's also the side of AI actually helping us as practitioners solve the problem more quickly. And so I think, while it's creating great challenges, it's also going to create great opportunities for us to do more. So I think that the identity kind of security of the future will be secured by agents more than likely. So I think, yes, there's a little bit of panic, and that's okay. But as long as we're rushing towards a solution, I think we're in a good spot.
Did we come down on how many agents do people? Because I hear, 40, 50, 100, a million.
Doesn't matter. Whatever number you pick is already out of date.
Yeah.
So it just changed. It just changed again. So I want to be optimistic about this. So should you panic? Yeah, a healthy amount of panic. Whatever that feels like for yourself. But I think we'll figure it out. We're at the Identiverse conference 2026. We've just sat through 2.5 roughly days of content of really smart people, you guys included, really trying to figure this out, right? So There are answers out there, and I can tell you right now, I don't think the answer is one answer. There's probably multiple answers. So if you're thinking about this, I think the prevailing wisdom right now, as of whatever today is, June 17th, 2026, is start with an inventory. What do you have? If you can't get a handle around that, it's just like your humans, right? It's just there's more of them and they're faster in every conceivable way. They process faster, they appear faster, they disappear faster. And so you need to really start to think about how you're going to get a handle on visibility first, and then start to think about, okay, well, now that I know what I have, what do I do with it?
Yeah. I also feel like we're at the beginning of this cresting wave. We're at Identiverse, we've been talking about agents for like 2 years, but a lot of the practitioners we're talking to are kind of just starting to feel this in their real world. I kind of feel like, first off, I mean, why I wouldn't panic? If you're going to be in IT, this is the one area to be in. Like, information security and more specifically digital identity. This is the area you want to be in.
I am so hot right now. I mean,
Yeah.
if I hear, all right, I got a pet peeve, and I've kind of gone on this before, but if I hear another person say Jenny's the new perimeter, I'm like, okay, well, you're 10 years too late. So, sorry, not sorry, but I have to caution and kind of caveat that as like, look, not everyone is an identity person. We are, whether you consider yourself or not. And I had a conversation about this earlier today with another person, and they weren't sure if they were an identity. They were more like a cybersecurity person, but they're here as well. So, they look to us for direction, for leadership, for answers, and it's okay if we don't have them right away. We'll figure it out. But identity is at the center.
That's for damn sure.
Is that it? Greg, was that helpful? Okay, good. Did we answer the question? We're good?
It was. It must have been a different Greg. That wasn't.
Oh,
that wasn't my question.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Oh, okay. Sorry. I misattribute.
Attributed.
Yeah. It's late. It's Vegas.
Oh,
All right.
you got the wrong identity.
Yeah, I did. Identity was definitely not at the center of that one, so I didn't catch your name. I'm sorry. What's your name?
Greg.
Charlie.
Oh, Charlie. Okay. I definitely know it's not Greg. We established that. Okay. All right. Next question here. Identity is a business enabler, not a cost center. How does that change the consolidation conversation? That's from, I think, Dolly. Is that correct? Is Dolly in here?
Dolly's not here.
He's not here. I don't think I see him. Okay. Bart, what do you think about that? First of all, is identity a business enabler?
I think it can be. I think it depends how you treat it, right? I think for a long time, cybersecurity teams have fought for budget to address the challenge, but I think more so if you look at it from the perspective of like return on investment and being able to solve these problems more quickly, but also be able to give people access to the information they need when they need it, then that's where it can become a business enabler. I think in general, cybersecurity gets a bad rap for making things more difficult. And I think where we can shift the paradigm, and I love the kind of analogy of like, if we can be air conditioning in the background and it keeps the room cool all the time, that's kind of what we need to strive for. Are we there? I don't necessarily think so, but I think if we can get there, then that's where it can actually be a business enabler.
So Bart knows his audience because I have a fan running here because I'm always hot. So the air conditioning analogy totally hits for me. What do you think, Jim?
I think that organizations are absolutely worried about AI. They're thinking that potentially they need to pump the brakes because they're afraid that their critical data is going to fall into the wrong hands, become available to the wrong people. So if you can use identity to enable, taking on that risk with some level of assurance or some level of risk mitigation that, okay, we got this. We're making sure that our policy engines are strong, that people only have access to what they should have access to. Absolutely enables you to take on more with AI.
So I think identity as a business enabler is a nice add-on. I think identity fundamentally is still a security apparatus. If we didn't have identity, we wouldn't have security around the majority of our things. The fact that it can be a business enabler, Bart, put it right, is a bonus. I think a lot of organizations struggle with articulating how does it enable my business. It's just a login and a password, and that's it. We got already have some feelings in the crowd, so that's good. But I think there are opportunities to explain it one way or another. Espen.
I would say that if Identities is going to be a business enabler, not a cost center, then we need to be better at articulating outcomes. We're touching upon it, but this is clearly what we need to be practicing. What are the outcomes that we are going to deliver? Then we become business enablers if we align those outcomes. But we're not good at articulating outcomes.
My name is Hano. I'm with In-House. So we do a lot of strategy work, and so that's where it gets interesting because we talk to stakeholders who are outside of IT, right? So it occurs to me just the conversation we're having. One of our higher ed customers, we're doing a whole strategy for them, and we talked to the continuing education department, and they had this identity problem really, which was how do we engage with the community? How do we engage with high school students? How do we convert them into matriculated students? And suddenly there were millions of dollars at play, and it became a strategic conversation about, okay, well, how do we have an integrated view of these identities? Because we have personal emails, and then we have campus emails when they're on campus, and how do we maintain that relationship and build an affiliation with the organization? And the whole conversation changed, and people got really excited, and admissions got involved, and it was a really great conversation. So for us, we think about it in terms of capabilities. So yes, there's a security dimension, but there's also the value you can unlock from within the organization by truly understanding that identity and the life cycle of the identity and how you manage it.
That's right.
How many people engage their business stakeholders through this?
A lot.
50%.
Yeah, a lot of people are doing that, which is what you should be doing. So I know we have a question, Shay.
Yeah, I was
Or
going to
comment.
say one of the, I think, fun ways to think about it is that the identity itself is the business enabler. To your point, it's the data that you can get from the identity, the attributes, why is that identity there? What are they doing? What do they want? What do they need? From an IT perspective, what we're worried about is the accounts that get generated from that identity, right? So that's what gives them the access to whatever tooling. And so that kind of splits the difference and helps build the story or the outcome for why does a business care about identity? Well, it cares about identity because that's going to tell them, to your point, like, what do they need? Why are they there? They don't care what they have access to. They don't care about any of that back-end account stuff. They care about the attributes of the identity.
Hey, Dave. My perspective is it is an absolute business enabler because if you ever try to sign onto a website and get a customer ID, you want as least friction as possible. The more friction in there, they're going to go someplace else, right? The second thing on the workforce, we get complaints all the time around, I got to get multiple IDs, I got to reset my password, I got to do this, and it just contributes to this associate dissatisfaction, which makes our workforce less productive, which impacts what we're actually here for doing, which is selling and servicing customers.
So here's some interesting thoughts here. We're thinking about customer IAM versus enterprise IAM.
Yeah.
Customer, absolutely, right? Friction,
Yeah.
things like that makes sense. Enterprise, let's be honest. How many people have an awesome login experience for your employees? 2 people. Right? So we're not even doing what we preach.
I mean, the login experience is great.
It's everything else that sucks.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah,
The
sorry.
access experience.
I feel like in the early days, it was like, we pay these people.
Yeah, they
They're
were
going to
captive
put up
audience,
with
literally.
whatever we give them.
Yep.
You can't
Yeah.
treat your customers
But it's
like
still
that.
a business enabler because if
That's right.
your login experience is bad, the same thing occurs. Like at day one, if you onboard an employee and they have a terrible experience,
It takes them 14 days to get access to stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, ongoing too, right? You move
Yeah.
departments and all of a sudden it's like 14 days to get more access. Like, yeah,
Or
that's
you
a
never
huge
get the
problem.
access.
Yes. Yeah.
Wait till they complain.
On the
That's
question, is identity a business enabler? I think you just made my point, which is best case, we are air conditioning, we're invisible, nobody knows. When we do everything perfectly, we're just out of the way of the business. But the more cynical data view is, that's the best we'll ever be, is we're just not there. And everything is worse than that. So every time we miss a point, we add friction and it just goes bad. So the best we can be is not impactful to the business.
I think we had a
but
comment
we
for that.
can collect the data that helps the business be better.
That's right, 100%.
I would agree. Tim Fazio of East Consulting, the business enabler thing is definitely true. We've gone through experiences where we've dropped single sign-on curtains in front of 300,000 identities, and overnight, roughly, you have a better experience for when they get through the door. And that was actually measurably better, right, for the business and for the user experience, both what we call frontline employees versus the internal employees, the same thing. So it definitely does fall in that category, I think.
Yeah.
I also think identity is more than just the sign-on experience, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
identity is an enabler, is like knowing who your customer is, and then everything that surrounds that, being able to link it together. So
Yeah, you log in once, even if you have to even think about logging in. A lot of this stuff can be automated. Think about things like passkeys, biometrics, et cetera. Nobody wants to wait for the thing that they need. You know, my background is IAM operations, and you know, when you're running a large team, you end up with a large backlog of tickets. It's hard to catch up. So anything you do to automate that, yes, is helpful. I just feel like it's still a security apparatus, and is it an enabler? Yes, but it depends. If you have not articulated that to the business as a business enabler, it is not an enabler. You have to tell them that it is and show them what that means. That's it.
Case in point, I think when we're talking about login experience, this goes to show how we talk about this to the business. Who among the workforce wants to have a logon experience every day? That's not what you want, right? I know we have vocabulary of user experiences, but I think we're going wrong already there.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Yeah.
All right, one more question, or one more topic on this. Comment.
So I was going to say one more thing building off of all this. So one of the things, challenges can be getting HR on board, right? So you talked about the onboarding experience. So Espen, to your point, you know, if you show up on day one and I've got my login, I've got access to my time reporting, I can do my benefits enrollment through the online portal, my workstation's there, my office has been assigned, you know, we can also do things like your credit card or whatever. All of that is right, it's an awesome experience. And so the win for HR is like, you have an impact on that. You're providing the data, and we also need to adjust the data flow and the processes to align with the automation that we're trying to achieve through IDM, and we can provide a superlative onboarding experience, and that drives retention rates, absolutely. And so that's a huge win for HR, and it's one of the things that once they understand that, they become really good partners in the process, and we tend to get better results.
HR is a sticky beast sometimes. You really have to educate them what it is you're trying to do. I think it's getting better, frankly, just because it's been 2 decades of pushing on things like IGA to get things in place. But I still run into this, you know, all day long with clients. It's, hey, they have a very different view of how their data should be used. And so there's an education that needs to take place by the identity professionals within that organization to enable those stakeholders to understand what it is that you're doing and what you're doing with their data.
Yeah, I mean, you always have to make sure that all the right stakeholders are actually at the table and bought in, right? Because I think oftentimes identity in general, maybe less so now, is treated as an IT project that needs to be solved, not as like an organizational transformation, which it is.
I think Eliza's got a question.
Yeah, it's more like a comment. The problem with HR is, as you said, they have different view of how data should be organized, or categories and departments, but also with all the mergers and acquisitions that are happening every year. Last year, when I was preparing a talk to Identiverse, I started to get the numbers, and in 1985, the trend started, and it started growing every year, and now it's like 3,000 or 4,000 per year. And if you consider that each company gets decades sometimes in absorbing, depending on the size of those acquisitions, absorbing the departments and start over and reduce the fragmentation that exists in the workforce, just because there is continual merger. And it's not a trend that is going to end. And every time you make progress in your program, you get a new merger, and you have to start over. So it's unfortunately it goes against us, but also you have to consider, coming back to the outcomes, you have to consider also the risks. and sometimes the business don't understand the risk, or the risk is not that visible with respect of the risk of losing market share. So we have to connect that also, the perspective of how the CEOs and the other areas of the business, not only the CISOs, sees the market.
So I have an answer for you. Just don't merge or acquire anybody. Well, then you don't have to worry about it. I'm sure everybody does a great job with mergers and acquisitions. I'm sure they don't have like 48 different domains for all the different companies that have come through.
I'll comment on that.
Yeah.
So we're part of an organization that's highly acquisitive, and it makes or breaks how a business gets onboarded and how information flows. When that company's acquired, day one, when they have identities, they can talk to the rest of the business. That's a good experience. When it's bad and it's segregated and they've got separate domains, not only is it a huge security risk, but it also doesn't actually create the intended effect of the acquisition.
But we have a playbook. Okay, sure. This has been a really good conversation. Exactly what I'm looking for.
Exactly.
Is hearing from people.
Yeah.
If I had to distill this down, we're talking communication. You have to communicate with the business. You have to communicate with your stakeholders. You have to communicate with your own teams, help them understand what it is. You cannot do it alone. If you are doing it alone, I would love to talk with you and figure out how you got that done, but you do need help from other parts of the business. And so you're not going to be successful in a large variety of identity outcomes, to Espen's point, without help from others in the organization. So really good discussion. So I'm going to assume Dowie is happy with that answer. All right, let's get the next one. I know Andrew's not here, but how can AI actually ease the IGA management load and large-scale access reviews? AI is just a fad and it's going away. Bart, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Andrew's kind of given us the answer to some degree, but going back to kind of the first question we had, I think there's two sides to this, right? One is, we can actually leverage AI to get better outcomes in identity. In access reviews in particular, I very much, the stats show that it's kind of a rubber stamping exercise. A very, very small percentage of entitlements are ever revoked. Now, I think that we have AI and that we're using it to help us or help our users do access reviews. I think we're going to be able to achieve, not that revocation is the goal, but a much cleaner identity profile for every user in the environment, because it's much better at picking up stuff that your business users just don't understand. They're like, oh yeah, I have no idea what this entitlement is, but I don't want to risk removing it so that they can't do their job tomorrow. So whereas AI can look at usage, it can look at what else the other members of that team might have.
Heartless AI. Ruthless zero trust.
Yes. Well, we can give it a personality, I guess.
A cheerful way of removing everything that you had access to. Liza?
So Jeff Jim, I was going to ask, with continuous identity, shall we continue worrying about access reviews, or shall we start pushing to get the data cleaned and start making the changes to make reality finally continuous identity in our organizations?
I think that's an excellent question. I would argue that I don't think the majority of the people in this room and most organizations are even ready for continuous identity. So if you're going to look at continuous identity, if you have attended any of the talks with Sean O'Dell or Andrew Cameron and have looked at things like shared signals framework, it is exciting stuff, fantastic stuff. I believe in it, but I don't think the vast majority of organizations are ready for it because it requires really good data. And I'm willing to bet we still struggle with data quality, timeliness, making sure that we even have that. And then it requires an extreme level of automation. You need to have invested in rock solid IGA, privileged access management, ITDR, strong authentication signals from whatever your IDP is. Is it promising? Yes. Now, my view is somewhat jaded, and Jim might be thinking of different things. You don't call an identity consultant when things are going great. So I see typically people who need help, and that's why I'm here, right? We have a lot of consultants in the room as well. They probably feel the same. And I think what we're talking about from a continuous identity perspective is realistically 3 to 5 years away for the majority of organizations to even begin considering. If you don't have IGA today, wow, we really start to need to think about how you're going to act on the signals that are coming through continuous identity. Could you skip it? Possibly. There might be some ways to do that. There's certainly some products out there that seem interesting around that type of approach, but it's a really good question. I just don't know if we're quite there yet, but I do believe that is where we're heading.
If you don't have access reviews now, I don't know if that's where I'd start. I used to always say it's a meaningful backstop to broken processes. If you think about the early, like the Stone Ages of identity, it was only human identities. We call it making sure that the right people have the right access. There was no things. Now, like I took that question, I started thinking, well, what AI is going to do is it's going to move us from the number of people, but number of people times 50, times 100. Like that's how many identities that we have to recertify? No, we have to actually move to a new model. It's that continuous identity, it's the ITDR, it's the real-time application of IAM controls. So to look at something like access reviews and think like, oh, that's how we're going to fix the problem. No, that's not going to be how you can fix the problem. Now, if you do have access reviews in place, I don't think you crumple it up and throw it in the garbage. This is where AI for IAM can help you in that it can help you take 10,000 reviews and boil it down to like, these are the 50 that you need to be concerned with, and we can send them to the manager, and we can explain why this looks like a problem. It's like, why does Jeff have all this access when, why does he have access to the HR system when he doesn't work in HR, right? So, that's where I think AI can help make access reviews better, but I think access reviews get less and less meaningful as AI becomes more and more important from an IT perspective.
Yeah, I realize, Eliza, I didn't answer your question.
No, but it's the same debate.
It is, but who in here asked to say, I want to do access reviews? Nobody, right? You were told, Shay is special. But most people, it's a directive from somewhere else in the organization, a risk, an audit, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I think it's...
But how do you get them comfortable to say that we don't need it?
Roland's got the
Roland's my answer, yeah.
So I think you don't want to do access reviews in the world of AI, because what AI shows us is that we are putting more and more automation in the administration stack. So you don't want to do access reviews in the world of AI with 6 times or not many AI identities, and it makes no sense. And there was a talk with Alex Olivier about access reviews are that known as access decision governance. So what you really want to do is to do access reviews on the decision process, as in automation. And we are doing more and more automation in the administration part, the admin type. So governing how identities, AI identities are created and their lifetime during this act. And this is where we are going to put more and more automation in the process in the admin time. So I think too, access reviews are dead, because we need to focus more on the automation process and governing that automation process during the whole lifetime of an identity.
Yeah.
No matter if it's a human or a technical identity.
Governing the process, I think, is the summary of like what you're saying, right? I think that requires a certain level of skill, right? Not everybody, not your regular line manager is going to be able to govern a process, so it's probably developers or your AI experts.
I also
Great point. Anyone who has a mic, if you guys can hold it a little bit closer to your mouth, because that's the way these mics work. Shay, Bart, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's also going to take time for audit and compliance to catch up. But we do have customers out there who have made the case with audit and compliance that if you have proper JML automation in place, it creates the evidence trail for certification that auditors can use. And then now, I think in the age of AI, as Jeff said, you can look at the anomalies, right? You can look at the things that are requested out of ban and aren't part of the role that so-and-so should have in such and such a department. So yeah, I think, we've always believed in automation first because it creates a cleaner access review process anyways. But yeah, I think it's heading there. It has to. I mean, especially with agents.
I think access reviews die as quickly as the password did. We've been hearing about the password being dead for the last decade.
Yeah, I agree.
It will take time.
Yeah, what I will say is that I don't think that IT wants to be in the business of determining access decisions.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so that
Should not
has
be
to
doing
still
that.
come from some level of business access review input, right? So no matter how good the technology is, the business has to respond. And so we could call it whatever we want, if we want to remove access review from the terminology, but the business still needs to do that. They still have to be the decider of who should have access and who shouldn't. Even if AI is helping them make that decision, those access reviews should stay in place. Because again, I mean, IT never, I would never want to take that over for the business.
I would never want either, and I absolutely agree with you. The business should be part of that.
I think
What is that? Ooh, I need more lights. All
Table for, sorry.
right, let's go with Bill.
So Bill Morse, Eritos, I want to go a different way. And I agree with Bart, most IGA certifications are rubber stamps. And I always tell people that the number one metric in IGA should be how much permissions are you revoking? From campaign to campaign. That should be the key metric. But what we're seeing now is vendors are going with like a usage-based approach. I like to call it the Netflix, are you still watching? And I'm a big fan of it. And I kind of wanted to ask the room, like, how do you feel about just asking the user, hey, you haven't done this, you have this permission, but you haven't used it in 6 months. Do you still need it?
Push the access review
You know,
closer to the
push it closer to the user. If that guy hasn't logged into Adobe in 6 months, you might have saved the license.
Which tooling are you using?
Hold on, let's get the mic going around. Let's get the mic going around just so we can hear it, because I think this is a really interesting question. Do you trust the user to make the decision? Are you just adding another step to it? If I am a user and I say yes all the time because my friction to re-obtain the access is high, you're not adding any value to it.
So
we got comments over here too.
I'll add, because I had an interesting conversation this week on exactly this topic. And the concept that I would kind of present to you guys is, what if we revoke the access immediately, but then the user could get it back without going through an approval workflow?
Yes.
I think
With AI,
there's...
that is where you need to be.
Exactly.
I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. Easy, we solved. Solve one problem.
There's a lot of opinions about access reviews, which is good, and it also points to something. I was just trying to summarize a bit of what some of you have said. So access reviews are access decisions, and access decisions are, well, so what I want to say here is the number of access reviews that you do in organizations sign up immaturity. The more access reviews you have, the more immature your IAM program is. That's still my point here. Because when we need to leave the decision to someone who may or may not be qualified to make that decision, we're not able to automate. So,
I think we had a couple other comments over here, right?
Yeah, so I just want to add that actually my talk in the Identiverse was exactly about that. So my name is Charlie, I work at Yap, we are an engineering team, actually built the least privileging program and all the tooling in the backend that it reviews all the users' access periodically, every single day. And if they didn't use it for past 90 days, we just propose to revoke it. And each user and their manager review these, and if they want to keep it, they go out and they have to use it in like we give like 7-day warning period. And if they don't use it in that point, we go and revoke that. But that's not just enough, because if you don't give them back a way to get the access fast, they will never let it go. So the key point here is that you need to provide really robust, very good access management system, and then you need to build that trust that they will be able to get the access back like whenever they need.
That's a great point. I've actually never thought of that, so great point.
So we saw such a tremendous amount of success with this program, because now people just let their access go, and then when they need it, they cannot get their access back. So I think it's not just at one point, like you might have a really good engineering solution, or you might buy a vendor solution. It might not be enough by itself. So there's multiple layers of this to make it successful. You need to have a good access management, as well as you need to build that trust that doesn't come in one day. You need to build that trust like over the years.
That human psychology aspect, that was
Exactly.
super interesting.
So fundamentally, we're back to automation.
Yep.
right? And so, Eliza, back to your question around continuous identity, it's not, automation is needed now. Don't wait to automate for continuous identity, right? It is a process you're going to go through. And I like that idea, but this idea of being able to go to a zero standing privilege model, right? That's another thing that's so hot right now. Very difficult to do. Impossible again to do without automation. What if we flip it on its head and go back to Blockbuster and you rent your tapes, you rent your access, right, for a couple of days and then it goes back, except this time you don't have to rewind anything.
We said Netflix and Blockbuster in the same podcast.
Yeah, exactly. It's like bell bottoms are coming back as well. So it's really interesting to hear the viewpoints in the room, and this is exactly what I was hoping for. So thank you so much for being part of that. Let's stick with non-human identities. Oh, Espen, you had something? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So Ron Bauer and House. I'm young enough to remember the days of deny until granted. Pre-NT, pre-Microsoft, pre-grant until denied. We're getting back there. We're going right back to deny until granted. That's what zero trust is.
Yep.
Right? And so the challenge is, as we've said, I see the pain or the fear in the eyes of the HR department. As you say, you put that attribute value in, and guess what? We're going to grant all this access. And it's your responsibility to make sure you put the right value in. And they go, holy smokes. I don't want that responsibility. So, yeah, this whole concept of zero trust needs to start. We will get back to, I can't give you access to my data until I know why you need the access. And you said automation. I actually say policy, right? I love what's happening with AI right now, only because, and I express this to some of the vendors on the floor, is while you're using the AI, your goal is to get to a standard operating procedure, not have the AI do it every time. It's, oh, you need access because your job and your profile, and this says you're doing this and your peers do that. Let me give you access, but now let me create the policy that says you get this access, and when it's denied because of misuse or unused or non-use, you don't have to get approval again because I've already given you the operating procedure to get it again. That's where we want to get. The systems aren't there yet. I mean, I've been an RBOC guru for who knows how long. As soon as I give somebody a role, they get the access for as long as they want it. We finally introduced the, expired after X amount of time, reapprove it after X amount of time. Everybody rubber stamps it. So we got to get back to that. Let's deny until granted, get the policy, get AI to start helping us set, and then have the AI generate a policy request that the business owner approves, makes it part of the process. I think we'll get there. 3 to 5 years.
Behind every automation, there's a great policy.
Yes.
So people ask us why our podcast goes so long, an hour. We just spent, 30, 40 minutes, right, on 3 questions so far. I'm going to keep us moving. Is Richard in the room from Centris? Because what I want to do is answer questions for people that are in the room first, if we had it already. So if not, I'm going to skip ahead. How about Karina? Nope, okay. You want to be? Is Robin here? From JP Morgan? No, I haven't seen him either, okay. Eliza, you had a question. You're up next. You did? We surprised Eliza with a question that she submitted, theoretically. With PDPs, continuous identity, this definitely sounds like Eliza, SSF, Shared Signals Framework, and Auth-Zen already in play, do we need another standard for agentic AI? So we've got policy decision points, continuous identity is the concept, SSF and Auth-Zen. Thoughts on that, Bart?
I mean, I don't think we need another standard. I think we need another standard like we need few things in life. I think they need to be interoperable. I think that's actually really the problem. If agents can use what's out there, that's what should happen. And then we need to kind of figure out how to make sure that those pieces are all connected and interoperable, as opposed to adding yet another framework that we all need to learn and understand. Because, I mean, even in the last 4 years, there's been how many introduced that, how many of us are actually using all of them?
I think with standards, we have to figure out how they apply to the agentic AI, yes. Right? And agentic AI identity. So I saw the previous question that would have gotten asked is, well, how do we manage when we have 50 to 1, right? We can't treat those 50 as people. We can't just treat them as service accounts. We have to treat them as something different, right? And so the right way to do it is to move back. I think the point that was being made, this idea of zero standing privileges. And then we start saying, oh, well, how do you do that? Well, we're at a conference where we're talking about these ideas and vendors are starting to build these solutions. If it was like commonplace, they'd have 10,000 customers all using these zero standing privilege solutions. These things are going to become commonplace. So this is the way things are going to go, where we're going to have zero standing privileges, and we're going to have technology that enables us to just provision enough access for those accounts or for those identities to do the thing that they have to do. And again, they're not people, so they can't go into ServiceNow and say, hey, I have to do this thing, and explain to their manager what they have to do. They're not service accounts. We can't treat them as service accounts. We can't just put hey, you've got this role, or you're just an admin. So what are the so bringing it back to this question, what are the standards that are going to need to apply in that world? And I think that a lot of those ones that were listed, like AuthZen, Shared Signals Framework, they do apply in certain areas.
Yeah.
I think, for example, one of the other things that has to happen is that, traceability, logging of what agentic AI identities are doing is going to have enough information that feeds our needs. Like, all these things are happening that we can't, it's happening at breakneck speed and we can't possibly understand it all. But when things go wrong, we need to be able to go back into the logs. What standard covers that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a standard, but I think you would maybe look at shared signals framework to be interoperable with, some sort of MCP broker or something like that. I don't know that I have the right answer, but I think, it goes both ways, right? Because granting access to an agent, in my view, is one thing, but knowing what that agent is going to go then do with that data is a whole other thing. So I think, there's enough standards out there, I think, to cover this. Maybe there's one more that needs to be added, possibly, but
No.
I don't.
No more standards. I don't think that we need more standards. I think we have the standards that we need. What I think we'll most likely see are extensions of existing standards. So you think of things like OAuth, AuthZen, Shared Signals Framework. I know Shared Signals Framework is working on additional events that will be carried along that. So if you're familiar with CAPE and risk, continuous access evaluation profile, if I only get it right off the first time. There are additional ones that are coming. We had a talk today with Mike Kaiser, who works as part of that working group. And one of the things that we talked about was intent. And how do you share intent as a packet of information to say, what is this thing trying to do? And so there will be, I think, enhancements to existing specs and standards. And I don't know if we necessarily see a new one come out. So my money right now is on just extension of what we have.
Mm-hmm. I'll take that bet. I'll take that bet because,
a new one?
Yeah. That's what standards bodies do, is they come out with new standards. That's their business model.
Yeah. Standards bodies, not standards. Roland, you want to say something?
Yes, I also think that we have all the standards we need. And if you take the architect's perspective, then we have all the Lego blocks on the table, and we have everything we need to implement this in the age of AI. But we need to figure out how to put the Lego blocks in the right direction and in the right ordering, and figure out how to make good processes to do all the automation and all the governance we need to do in that new AI world. But maybe there are still some best practices we need to figure out, profiles to extend of them, or shared signals framework to adapt to the new requirements that arise with AI. But in general, I think we already have all the Lego blocks on the table. We just need to figure out how to create human figures out of that.
I love Legos, so put a big block in front of you. I'm playing with tape. I agree. We have what we need. I think it's a matter of putting the pieces together. But let me ask a question to the audience here. When's the last time you went out and you were in the market to buy a OAuth product? Anybody? No? What's that, Elizabeth?
We renewed.
We renewed, okay. But this is something I think, and maybe this is somewhat unique to the United States, is we're a very product-focused market. We are buying an IDP, but we're buying a product name, right? We're buying a Bravura, a Microsoft, an Okta, right? Things like that. I don't know anybody who's like issued an RFP for OAuth or for SAML, right? And so we have these things, these standards are important, they sit behind the products that we're using, and you should be encouraging your vendors to adopt standards. And to not only adopt it correctly. There's a lot of vendors, that are out there, especially in the IDP space, that go halfway with a standard, and then they kind of do some stuff that maybe isn't fully aligned with it. And I would encourage you, as their customers, is to ask them those questions. Ask them when they're going to support shared signals framework. Because we're not going to get to continuous identity without some messaging bus, which is what shared signals is, to do all that stuff. So you have the power. You guys have some very big company names in here. You should be asking your vendors, when are you going to support it? Not if, when. Espen.
So to repeat what I was saying earlier, isn't this about being more outcome focused? We're very product focused, but we need to get better. Trying to describe what do we need to happen? What does good look like? So,
yeah, I think in this space, we're really good at buying products and then implementing portions of them, and less good at understanding what the problem is that we're trying to solve and what a solution might look like. Maybe within what you already have in your estate, or maybe that creates the business case for something else. But yeah, I totally agree. I think it's very product centric, very technology.
It's a major problem. You bring up really something important is we're really good at phase ones.
Yeah.
And it just falls apart after that.
Yeah.
Momentum dies, funding dies, whatever it may be. When you look at whatever you're trying to implement, it doesn't matter if it's a product, a service, an outcome, you've got to be prepared to support it for the long haul and get past phase one. Look, you got to start somewhere, but move past that.
Sorry, you touched my weakness, so I have to say something.
Nobody from HR here, right?
Since I joined the current company I'm working for, I started with Steadman, with Okta, with multiple vendors and others. But trying to get something from the CSM and the CSM from the product owner and then the product owner to actually reach to identity is impossible. And we have to build in-house to overcome certain things. And then we started to reverse engineering the standards on our solutions because we are still waiting for solutions and we got even answers saying we cannot modify our engine of connectors to make sure that these interact with this other product, and we are not going to help you. So although we are pushing back and very hard, and we are paying, unfortunately moving to a different product is difficult, and they know it. And as long as we pay the bill, they are still happy and they will want to buy to sell us something else, and that is the market we are in. So actually today I became a member of IDPro because I want to influence.
I hope you used our discount.
No, it didn't come.
Okay. I need to talk with those folks. You raise a lot of really good points. The first thing that jumped to mind is when you're struggling with a vendor. And I think most people probably know this, but maybe there's people out there that the way you need to think about this is there's a lot of really good products out there. They're all very capable, but where you get the most success is when whatever partner you're using to implement it will have a huge impact on how successful you are with an implementation. It doesn't matter what product it is, unless you have the in-house knowledge to do that and do it yourself. You really need to be looking at your partners, whatever that looks like, PS, professional services, implementation partners, consultants, whatever you want to call them. They have an outsized impact on how your deployment experience will go and the outcomes that are coming out of it. There's a lot of really good products. Good integrators will be able to work magic with a product that is less than. And a bad integrator will kill a excellence.
I think you have to have a partnership mindset with your technology vendors and your PS vendors.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not just one. You've got to look at your technology vendors like, do I want to hitch my wagon with these folks for the many years to come? Do I feel like they're going to keep me at the edge of the market, but also not let me down? Those are the things that maybe don't pop on an RFP. That's where the relationships matter.
That's where the relationships matter. I'm going to flip it because you're usually the negative one and I'm the positive one. I'm going to go slightly, I'm not going to go full negative, but we are captive audiences for a lot of the products we use.
Yeah.
You're not going to tell Adobe what to do. Sorry, they're too big. You're not going to be able to tell Microsoft what to do. They're too big. You can influence some things, but how quickly do you expect that change to happen? Years?
Yeah.
Maybe, if they get around to it. So it is a reality of the situation is that we are all captive to some number of products that are business integral, and we just have to figure out how to get around it, through it, whatever it may be. And so it's just the reality of it is that I wish it was a partner model, but let's be honest, when's the last time you felt really good about paying your Microsoft bill?
Yeah, but I mean, you're going to have a lot of people say that I felt good about Microsoft yesterday or today.
And it's,
right?
look, they've got a good product, right?
The
We
good
all
thing
use
about
it.
Microsoft is that they've got a track record, right? And they support a lot
Look,
of
it's not a dig against Microsoft. What it is, it's a reflection and a reality of, are you really going to be able to do things without some of these major players? It's just not going to happen.
I mean, I would argue that you can find vendors in this space that you can partner with.
Yeah.
We're on the vendor side, obviously.
Yeah.
So, I would say that find a vendor where you can partner with them, and they are either partnering closely with their partners or actually offering the services to you, because it means that we have more skin in the game with you to make sure that you're successful in your outcomes. So.
Just want to double down a little bit on what Elisa was saying. Before we get captive with a vendor, we do have a choice of evaluating them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I myself have been with Gartner for a while earlier, and one of the services Gartner provides is the comparison of vendors. But you don't need that if you're an IDPro member, necessarily, because you can really use the IDPro common knowledge. We're trying to say, what are your experience with these different vendors? They use that opportunity of the general knowledge that we all have and we are able to share before you go to be that captive customer. But still, I mean, I agree there are some ways to not be that captive, but still, the most freedom you have is before you make the choice. And IDPro can help you with that, so use that.
idpro.org/IGAC. Danny's got a question over here. I want to stick with this just a little bit, and maybe Bart, I want to answer you a question around this, because I think, Eliza, you brought up something around partnership, and so did you. How do you feel about customers influencing product direction? Because I'm sure you get a lot of questions around, hey, why doesn't it do this? Why can't it do that? I want it to do this.
Well, do you have a cap?
Yeah. Do you have to balance
We do have a cab. I mean, yeah, you have to balance, all of the different product lines and all of the different customers. But what I'll say is we don't build something unless a customer actually wants it, or we really think that's the direction that the industry's headed. I think customer partnership from the vendor side is how you either succeed or fail in this space. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the huge vendors in this space fail at that because they're partnering with maybe one or two customers or none. As a smaller vendor in this space, we have the opportunity to invite more voices to the table and actually understand, we use our cab to try to distill the noise as well, right? Because if you could talk to, 20 customers, 100 customers, they are all going to tell you they want something slightly different. But if you actually get them in a room together, they're going to come up with the thing that they all want, and that sets product direction for us.
I don't want you to name the thing, but have you ever thought of like a feature, like, oh, this is going to be killer, and then you start talking about it and everybody shoots it down?
Yes.
Have those situations? Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, we also use it very much in a way like, hey, here's what we're thinking. Is this cool? We actually brought something here to Identiverse and showed a bunch of different people at the booth, and it was like, it wasn't necessarily something that got shut down, but it was an opportunity for us to actually go back, take real feedback, refine it, and then come back to whatever the next version of this is for us, whether it's Gartner or something else. And then get more feedback. And we're doing this all on pre-release product because we actually want people to use it. I think as vendors, we have this tendency to build the thing that our engineering team envisions and not necessarily the thing that the people who are using the product actually need. So
next thing you know, you're Ross and Joey, and you're trying to get a couch down a stair, and you're just like, pivot. I said pivot.
Yeah.
Was there a question over here?
It was just to add on. It was just to echo the comment about once you buy it, the boat anchor of having it around your neck is a real thing, right? But to your point, I've thrown out more vendors for poor relationships than I've built them, and that pain is usually always worth it because, as you said, they'll take that not so great thing and help you turn it into something great versus the catastrophe that might come out of and the downstream impact of a bad relationship and then bad product.
Yeah. All right, let's get the mic over to Bill. I like what you said because you just said kind of the same thing that I said in a mailbag a few weeks ago at this point. I'm not sure when it was. We need to normalize it being okay to rip and replace a vendor. 100%. Right now it is seen too often as like a career limiting or even ending move. If I make a wrong decision on a product, we should be able to say, hey, you know what, that was a bad call, hindsight's 2020, let's fix it and let's go out. Too often do I see, one, either a hesitancy to make a decision because they're so afraid of making the wrong decision, or trying to get something that just isn't going to work to work. And you're just setting yourself back. So
it's real, but it definitely is long-term worth it.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've got a lot of leaders in here. I would really encourage you to think about your product stack. If something doesn't meet your needs, go get something new. Does it stink? Yeah, it does. Well, but it's a lot better than that.
Polish your resume.
Yeah, maybe yes, but I think we need to normalize and make that behavior okay to say, yeah, it might have been the best decision 3 years ago, 5 years ago.
At that time,
right?
Yes, but not now.
Yeah, I'm not saying rush into something that is like flash in the pan like AI. That's just a fad. But we need to be okay with saying, yeah, you know what? We made the best decision we could at the time, and now it's time to make a change. If you're not willing to have that discussion and be okay with that, you're just delaying the inevitable, right? Another 3 years, 6 years, and then you're looking, and then they're looking, right, and all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot going on. Bill, you've got the mic.
Just an add-on comment. So we do a lot of product bake-offs and RFPs and all that. And early in the process, we have to figure out if your head of IAM, CISO, et cetera, is I'm only going to use stuff that's Gartner Quadrant and only use stuff that all my other CISO buddies are using. Or if you were I want to pick a smaller guy because then I can influence the roadmap guy.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, you need to know what they're expecting when you come with your set of products that you want to bake off. And those two people are never the twain shall meet. It's either no one gets fired for buying IBM type, or it's I'm willing to go a little adventurous. So it's an interesting process.
Mm-hmm. Espen, you had something to comment over there?
It's a quick comment.
Oh, and over here too. Espen, you've had the mic a lot.
Your lifetime. I support you.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
No, I think the pressure for the vendors to become more agile, to actually solve the problems that the customers need, with the temptation of build versus buy as AI gets better at coding. I mean, I personally, the temptation to build something versus buy custom for myself is so much greater.
Yeah.
Even though IAM is not my business.
No, look, the tools that are available now, right? You can spend the weekend vibe coding up an IGA platform.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh boy. Is it going to be any good? Yeah, maybe on paper until things start breaking and you don't know how it works. Espen wants the mic, and he says he's going to support me, so I support that.
So he gets the mic.
Right.
Maybe you should want to strengthen what you said.
Give him a chance.
Yeah.
Because this is something I advise my clients of now is every time you have an initiative to purchase something, Well, make a point of preparing along that way to replace. Prepare to replace as you go, even from the beginning. Plan how replacement will look like. I mean, that breeds resilience, even from an RFP partner. I think that was what you were saying as well.
If I can add to that, I would also say some of our speediest implementations that we've ever done are customers who are replacing because they've already done a lot of the work. And I think a lot of customers look at it as like a huge hill to climb. When you've done all the work, you have clean, well, maybe cleaner data, and a good, RBAC implementation, maybe some automation. It's a lot easier to do at the second round. So
it's a lot easier if you're using standards.
Yeah.
Standards help on that, and not.
Yeah.
Greg?
One anecdote which supports that is I was at a large retailer based in Minneapolis who has a red circle for a logo.
No idea who you're talking about.
And we were implementing a GRC tool, and we put out an RFP, got bids back, and the senior director over the whole thing said, let's just take the lowest bid. And he said, we're going to replace this thing in 18 months, but we will spend the next 18 months implementing the tool, and then we'll figure out what our actual requirements are, and then we'll replace it. So we went into it with that mindset, and that's exactly what we did. And it was great. The second tool, replacing the first one, was exactly what the company needed. I've never seen that done live. It was
All right, let's keep things moving. How are we doing on time? We're about an hour in. I can keep going if we're,
There's still booths out there.
There's still stuff out there. We're gonna keep going till you tell me, or we have to stop. We'll just keep going.
Yeah.
There's a couple things that I think would be helpful for people. Is we've talked about IDPro a couple times. It's a great organization. I support it. Nonprofit. It's a good organization to ask these types of questions. You're not alone. So that's a way to get some help with it as well. So I would definitely encourage people to check that out. One of the things that I really appreciate about this identity community is the community. Like, we've got people in this room, we're willing to share things. We have a bunch of different smart people with a lot of different viewpoints, and that's what this is about, is community. One of the things from a community standpoint that gets done, in addition to IDPro, are things like Identiverse. Espen is the godfather here. Don't worry, Espen, I was getting to it. And that's another avenue in a low stress, low pressure way to meet the people that we have in this space. I can tell you, I've been to Identiverse all over the world, which means basically Berlin and here. And there is a lot of really smart people having really intelligent discussions about not just identity, but everything. I also want to give a shout out to Roland here. They put out Identiverse Umbrella Associates, and so this is sort of like an award. It has like a picture, it goes on LinkedIn, and this is a perfect example of the community, right? They go out of their way. Roland, you and Sebastian, and you guys are based in Germany?
Yes.
Yep. And so it's a good beer. What's that?
Well earned.
Well earned, yeah. But that's emblematic of really what we have in this room. And in all the people that you saw upstairs for the last couple of days is that community. You are not alone. Ask questions. Look, we're two guys sitting behind a microphone, 3 tonight, right? We have ideas, we have thoughts and opinions, but we learn just as much from having these conversations as well. The reason I bring up community as part of this is reach out, form local communities, ask people. If you need introduction to somebody, ask somebody to ask somebody, right? There's a lot of wisdom that's out there. I know Espen wants to talk again, so get the mic over there.
I wanted to say something about Identiverse.
As
there's a seat here for you.
Useful. I'm just sharing my experiences with your podcast, because I think a lot of people are really afraid to reach out and give comments on LinkedIn, and so this isn't really a question. This has been true for myself for a long while as well. You say reach out. What's the best way? And can you lower the barrier of reaching out to you guys? Because I know you want people to reach out, but I know a lot of people are afraid to do that. Can you give me some advice?
Yeah, I prefer handwritten notes delivered on a satin pillow with chocolate. That's the way I roll. Look, my email, jeff@idacpodcast.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I don't know how else to be more available. I'm happy to do it. I respond to everybody that sends something in, as long as you're not a vendor sending me unsolicited stuff, things like that, or trying to hire me for a 6-month part-time RACF position in a basement somewhere. I do. Look, we do this show because we like to do it. Yeah, we started this 7 years ago. We're over 2 million downloads now, which is insane to think about. The clapping goes out to you guys, right? Jim and I started this a long time ago. We've been doing it every week since, and we thought that there was a space to have conversations like this. Tonight has been a lot of fun for me. Like, we have contributed all together to create an excellent episode of Identity Center. So I want to thank you guys for that. Jim.
So I'm a perfect example of somebody who just reached out to somebody who knew Jim and said, hey, I need to have a conversation. Within a couple of days or a day, came back, and that was how it got in. So the barrier is low. Sorry. Sorry about that. These guys are very accessible, and it was very easy to get into the community, if you will, right? And when I started making the effort to take that step.
So the community is such a big part of what we do.
I wanted to say one thing about the Identiverse, because I think showing up at an Identiverse is one thing, but if you live in a geography, say Phoenix, and there's not an Identiverse chapter, you can start one.
Create it.
Right? And Espen's the guy, just go over and make sure you be that person.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of different ones that are popping up all the time. We happily support it. They're fun.
I don't think
they're great.
In Atlanta.
I know. We were talking about that.
Okay.
Well, let's get going.
Thanks for throwing softball. And I'm already thinking about starting one in Dallas. So there you go.
There you go.
Dallas. There is. See there now.
So the great thing about Identiverse is that it is also a non-vendor, non-sponsor thing, right, Espen? The idea is that it's a community run and built thing, and trying to keep it, as agnostic as possible from that perspective. I appreciate that. Look, they're fun. If you haven't been to one, I would encourage you to go on that. They start small. It might be 2 people, and then that 2 people becomes 4. The next thing you know, you've got 100 people sitting on the Spree River in Berlin at a conference, just having a great time. And we've recorded episodes there. We did one with Espen a couple weeks ago when we were there. Last year in 2025 when we were there, we sat at a long table, and I had just a camera on one end, and we just passed the mic and learned about identity origin stories. If you listen to the podcast, one of the first questions we ask is, how did you get into identity? And my theory when I started this 7 years ago was that nobody chose it. Identity chose them. And I think that will change. And I hope it changes, because we need it to change. But it is something that we can rely on from a camaraderie perspective. Look, we can laugh, cry, articulate all the different things we want to do, but you're just not in it alone. Kind of stumbling over the words there a little bit, but I bring this up only because we have a question from somebody here, and it's coming from Alexis, who's sitting over here in the corner. She's a colleague of ours at RSM, an associate, year out of school. This is her first real identity exposure. She's really embraced it. So we're going to embarrass her, a little bit. She submitted a question, but, talk about accessibility. So I'm going to tell the story of how we met, because I think this is kind of funny. Is she sent on our idacpodcast.com, we have a form you can fill out to request, send feedback. And she just sent a form basically saying, hey, like your show, blah, blah, blah. And I kind of was like, it's an RSM address. So on Teams, I'm like, hey, why don't we just meet? The form, right? To do that. And that was Tuesday, a week ago, roughly. And we got on a call with her, talked to her, learned kind of about her story and stuff like that. And said, hey, you know what? It's probably too soon, but we do conferences all the time. And if you're really interested in learning about identity, why don't you think about coming to Identiverse next year? Spoiler alert, she's here. We had some conversations. It's like, great. And then, she texted me a little bit later and it's like, hey, is it okay if I ask my management if we can go? And it's like, yeah, absolutely. I'll absolutely support it. Let's make that happen. She does excellent work, and management was behind it on her side. It's like, hey, let's get it done. CRA pitched in a free ticket for her to come here and learn from all of us in the room and others. And that is the power of community. I will ask Alexis to share her thoughts here real quick, but I've made it a point to try and introduce her to people. You know, she's here, she's listening from all you veterans in the identity space. And that is what we need to be doing. We need to be inclusive and bring people into the fold. The more people we do that, the more people who are going to understand what we do. And they're the ones that are going to take over our crappy IGA deployments and blame us for all the sins that we've made in the past, right? So let me, Alexis, you did have a question, but I want to just ask you real quick to put you on the spot. Like, what are your thoughts of your, you know, two and a half days now? Well, 3, I guess, technically. You've been kind of following me around. You went to Identiverse as well on Sunday. What does it look like from your perspective as someone who's kind of just coming into this space?
Oh, well, first of all, what a treat. Like, holy cow. This is Jeff, Jim, thank you for making this happen. If Mitch and John listen to this, thank you for making this happen. Everyone in this room, I've gotten to connect with a lot of you and shake your hands. Thank you for being willing to take someone new in, to teach someone. I think what I've learned over the course of these past 3 days is there's a lot to learn, right? And things are changing quickly, and this is a really exciting area to be in. So that is probably my biggest takeaway, and I'm really excited to learn more and to hopefully build more. I think we're in a room of builders, and that's really, really cool.
Thanks. Now, if there's any indication, if it's any indication of how quickly she's picked on, this is the question she submitted. I can't talk. That she submitted. Agentic authentication. How should it work and who owns the standard? I don't know if we have an answer, Alexis. I'm sorry. We are still building it and thinking about it. But
There's the new standard.
There's the new standard, maybe, and maybe Alexis writes it, you know, as we work through that kind of process. But I don't know if, so how should it work from an agentic authentication standpoint? I think it should work somewhat similar to human identities / privileged identities, some sort of hybrid of that, because you can't do it at human speed. But we also have a lot of technologies that are out there that might help with it.
We need to hear what Bart has to say.
Yeah, I do want to ask Bart what he's thinking, because he's the vendor. He's going to fix this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it looks like workload identity, but not necessarily the workload identity of the past, where you set it up once and then it works for the next, 2 years. It's the workload identity that sits in your DevOps pipeline that is like ephemeral and lasts for, 30 minutes, 90 seconds, however long the jobs are. I think that's how it has to work, because it moves at machine speed and humans move at human speed, which is much slower.
No service accounts, not hard-coded secrets.
No.
But zero standing privileges, right?
Yeah,
and
just in time.
Just in time.
So the service accounts we've been talking about and securing for decades, they were machine accounts, right, for lack of a better term back then. But they were still operating, being administrated at human speed. So now we need to think about, okay, how do we automate and orchestrate that in a way that can actually keep up with what we call NHI today, or workload identity. We haven't even decided what to call these things yet. So, but I do know is we can't keep up as a human. We need some way to do this faster. Question, comment?
I was going to say, it was 2017, self-sovereign identity. Now, their governance model is the first thing they built, and we actually participated in helping write that. So think of it as an identity, but if you're a parent and you have a child, at some point that identity has to then be taken over by that child and owned by the child. Well, agents in the digital world, we as humans want a human to own that identity. So if you look at the self-sovereign identity, it's called the DID, the distributed identity, I see that as being a root of the agent's identity. I issue the permission for that agent to be executed. That agent gets its DID from me as the authoritative source. I have ownership of it. It does what I asked it to do. It goes away.
Right. Delegation, not impersonation.
Correct.
Right? You're not setting up your agents to be a copy of you. It's giving them a specific task, which requires a specific entitlement or set of entitlements, not admin privileges, not your account.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying it's a delegation, but it's a little bit different than parent-child, because the child hopefully doesn't go away before you do. But in this case, these are activities that are very specific. objectives with very specific, you mentioned something about context, the goal, what's the intent? Well, think about the AI engines now. You're telling them what the goal is, and you can use that as context to then say, this DID has this goal, does it have the right permissions, who owned it, who authorized it to perform that action? Like you guys said, I don't think we need a new standard. I think we need to understand how to use that standard in this space. Good.
Yeah, I mean, I think a real world implementation of that today is like, we're all building stuff with AI, and even in Git, right, the co-authored by Claude, right? But it's co-authored by Claude, it's authored by you, right? It's still owned by a human in most cases, although that might be shifting, so.
Can I make an outcome point again?
Yeah, I would be shocked if that wasn't an outcome of your answer.
If agents are going to be better at aiming for outcomes than we are.
So I would not use the word better. I would use the word more capable. I think better and good and bad is not indicative of what these things would do. Yeah. Capability is where I would put it. So if you want to talk outcomes, I will talk capabilities. How about that?
Yeah, my comment in here is that I think we need to separate the Auth-N and Auth-C on the agents, and I believe that the Auth-N is going to be surprisingly easy to do because it's machine, and I think it's a solved problem. You will be able to give like cryptographic identities with PKI, and you will be able to verify it. It's already been there for years, and I think it's going to be pretty easy to solve. But the hard problem is the Auth-Z problem, the delegated authorization, like everyone talking about the dual subject authorization. I think those are going to be a lot more challenging to deal with it. And another layer that I've been keep thinking is that, well, maybe we will be able to have a perfect authorization, but how about the usability? Is everyone going to keep click, or like, do this for my bank account or do that for my, nobody's going to do that, and people will go with the YOLO mode and stuff. I think those are the aspects that we're going to deal with in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's already sort of being built, right? If you think of like Claude Code, geek out for a moment, auto mode, right? It's going to be agents managing agents. It's not going to be humans reviewing every agentic action through authorization. That's not going to scale, right? I mean, otherwise, as humans, we'll literally be sitting there and, you know, maybe this is apt because we're in Vegas, but we'll be sitting there tapping authorize, authorize, authorize.
I think I saw that episode of Simpsons.
Yes, yeah.
So we've got about 10 minutes left. Eliza.
Sorry, I wanted to add that it's been built, and we got a talk yesterday from Aaron Marecki. He explained how OAuth is integrated or is integrating with MCP. So it's happening. Some interoperability that we were discussing before is happening, but it's going to take time, it's going to take reviews, and probably now that I'm hearing so much, it's going to take our feedback.
It will take feedback, but it is being worked on, right? We talked about the standards, we talked about the people in the room who are building the stuff. And the fact that we're thinking about it is good. We need to start thinking about it, so don't stick our head in the sand. Like, it's not going to go away, it's going to keep coming through. We've got about 10 minutes left before they start charging probably an insane amount of money to Bravura for this room. So I want to do a little bit of a rapid fire, and then I want to ask Danny a question, because I'm going to start with you, Danny, because we talked about this a little before we hit record. You made a post on LinkedIn that you're looking to hire somebody for your organization. Real briefly, what are you looking for from that new role?
So I'm looking for someone who can come help us with a strategy and is able to think about it and help us plan for the future, but is also hands-on. Knows how to implement things, knows how to respond to tickets, knows how to build a team, so eventually maybe they don't have to be hands-on as much, but to come in and do both of the things.
So let's dive a little bit into that, because I think a lot of us are looking to hire talent. It's a very competitive market sometimes for good IAM talent that's out there. So when you say build the team and help with products and outcomes, to Espen's parlance. Is this a customer-focused thing? Is it an enterprise-focused thing? Like, what do you, when you say build it? Workforce, okay. And what's your vision for this? Is it building a workforce IAM program? Is it technology?
Everything.
Everything. Okay. So we're looking for a unicorn.
And works for minimum wage.
Okay.
There is a gig section on the IDPro Slack channel, so I think that's one place that people should be checking out.
Just to add to that, I mean, speaking to Elizabeth from IDPro about virtual job fairs.
Yeah, I think that would be
That's something that I think would
very
be
cool idea.
very good.
Yeah. Would a virtual job fair be helpful for hiring managers that are in the room to, does that move the needle at all for being able to find talent and, you know, add to their teams? Espen wants to talk again. This is.
Yes. I'll be talking that much,
I'm going to look at the waveform later and be like, Espen.
I mean, we're in the World Cup at the moment. They did the ball possession all through the game.
Mm-hmm.
No, so I want to ask about hiring talent because there's not that many of us that have existing identity experience, but there's a lot of people that have experience that is relevant, although they don't know it yet, that we could use. So how do we identify, you know, the right experiences and tell people and just kind of convince them that they would be good in identity? Because I think we need to do more of that.
How many people in the room have hired somebody in identity for their organization? Jim? Okay, a lot. Let's give Danny some help here. What do you look for, and what has been successful in ways to find people for your organization? Let's start over here with, was it Charlie?
Yes.
Okay.
For me, is that the skills are important. Of course, technical skills are important, but it's really hard to find someone that will be able to know everything that we're looking for. And I believe that most of the technical skills with the AI era is a lot easier to learn compared to the past. So I look for more of curiosity, first principles maybe. Can they go back to the first principles? Can they analyze the problem? Can they divide it? Can they solve complex problems into smaller chunks and solve it? And are they accountable? That's also important to me because technical skills, I think you need to have some baseline, but if you don't have that accountability, proactivity, technical skills, that's not going to help that much.
Jim?
Hire for aptitude, train for skill.
Yeah.
And that was the core of the people that I've found in the past is if you had little experience or at least had come out of cyber or come out of something that gave them that potential to be able to extrapolate a skill from one to the next, which is exactly what you were talking about.
Does anybody disagree? No. Okay. I agree, by the way. I think my motto, my philosophy over the years has been hire the attitude, I can train the rest.
Yeah. As a vendor, that's how we look at it too. I mean, I'm a great example. 12 years ago, I came out of enterprise content management, i.e. spending a lot of time with SharePoint. Glad I made the move.
So sorry. Roland.
I would just like to ask if you're looking for people, look for people who are able to take multiple perspectives on the same problem. Because identity management is a multi-perspective problem. So no matter if you are speaking of workforce identity, customer identity, privilege identities, you always have different perspectives on the same problem. So if you're looking for a solution architect or something like that, then this is a very valuable skill to think about the problem on different perspectives. Customer's perspective, from the internal's perspective, from the vendor's perspective, and so on and so on.
And this is where community helps, right? We have organizations like IDPro, Identiverse. You never know where you're going to find your next person, your next gig, right? Whatever you're looking to do. So I would definitely encourage, look, the people in this room, people at this conference, they are for the most part professionals. I think there's a very big difference between I do identity as my work and identity as my career. And I think that's something that you should be looking for as well. Yeah. And I'll be honest, when I started, I was in IAM operations 2001 to 2012, a big chunk of that was just me learning and figuring out. I wasn't sure. It was just a job. I bartended on the weekends and we made way more money doing that, right? It took a while for me to figure out that I wanted to be in this space, but that switch flipped. I'm very happy about it. But I think that is something that separates also as well, is when you're looking at your teams and you're looking to bring people in, is are they an identity professional? That's one of the first questions that I would ask and think about. Eliza.
Yes, I had to hire externally, and then people came to me, so I'm very, very blessed. Now I'm passing a difficult situation, but anyway. My recommendation will be evaluate critical thinking and the ability to learn and how they experiment. It's not only curiosity, it's also the ability to build solutions, or at least ask the questions and self-start something. Even if it's something that is not identity, have examples of what they innovated. So have ownership, have accountability is important. Basically, soft skills, the technical, they already said, technical stuff, you can build it, and actually I prefer people that don't have experience in identity because they bring bad practices sometimes. I prefer to build together and have a safe space to break stuff and learn, and then we do best practices together.
There's that term again, best practices.
I know we're running out of time, and no, that's fine. This has been a lot of fun. I think, Roland, I'm going to give you one just real brief thing if you want to jump in.
When it comes to hiring, make sure your identity management team is diverse, because identity management is always about humans, or mostly about humans, and humans are diverse, and humans have biases. So your architects, your business stakeholders have biases. So make sure your identity management team is diverse, so they bring in a lot of perspectives.
There's a lot of viewpoints out there.
When you're in identity, for example, on that, make sure your team is diverse and you get as many perspectives and opinions on the topic.
That's a great point. When you first started, I was like, make sure your identity team is aware so they get provisioned on time. I was like, yeah, that's also important too.
I think that's a great way to end this episode. What do you think?
I think it is too. We had so many questions and we got through like 5. We knew we weren't going to get through all of them because there was a lot of really good ones. I'm happy to stick around, answer questions. I'll be here tomorrow as well. So from barrier of entry, hit me up on LinkedIn. You've got my email address. There's all kinds of different ways to do that. But I really am appreciative of everyone showing up here. You had a lot of choices here. You spent it with us. I hope we had a good time. I know I did. I don't know if it was entertaining or not. I was entertained, so that's all that matters. But thank you very much for being here.
Best session of the week for me.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thank you to Bravura for putting this all together. So please show them some
Thank you to you guys for entertaining the crazy idea. We sent you an email like 2 months ago being like, hey, what if we did Identity After Dark?
Yeah.
And you guys were like, yeah, I think we could do
Yeah,
that.
let's figure it out. Let's
work.
Yeah, let's just figure it out and make it happen. We've never done anything like this before. I hope we get to do it again in the future.
How do you
How do you get the t-shirts? That's the important question.
Well, if you're interested, they were a limited run, but we might be able to send you one. So let us know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just talk to me and I'll write down my
All right, so t-shirts are in high demand, which is great. Thank you again for being part of this. I really do appreciate it. We always close out on a lighter note, but we don't have time for that. This entire episode for me was a lighter note. So, we had a lot of really good feedback, and I hope it helped people that are out there, not only in this room, but the people who will see this at some point whenever it comes out. I don't know when that will be yet, but it will be out. Every time I do a live recording, I just, I'm like, is it recording? Are things on? I'm looking at all my, dials and bells and over here, and I always hope things come out well. So I hope you had a good time. Our traditional sign-ups, idacpodcast.com. Like and subscribe. Hit us up on LinkedIn or whatever it is. Give us feedback. With that, we'll go ahead and leave it for this week. We'll talk with you all in the next one.
You've been listening to Identity at the Center. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit the website at identityatthecenter.com. See you next time on Identity at the Center.